Hey, what's up, relationship geeks and freaks? Jayson Gaddis here, host of this podcast, the Relationship School's Smart Couple podcast. Happy to be here once again, serving it up to you. This podcast is for you if you want to improve your long-term relationship life. Okay, that's what we're about here. And in order to do that, we assert that you need to look in the mirror. All right. So we give you lots of tips and advice and insights from people around the world that study this stuff or are inside living it, or people who have failed at it and are learning something different, like me. So we share what we've learned in hopes that will help you. All right, if you are going it alone out there, remember, that is going to limit your capacity to get results. Results, I notice, happen in my life most powerfully when I have accountability. At least one other person, ideally a few more. It's like why CrossFit is so popular right now, because people are cheering you on. So if you want to get more accountability and you want to get some practical support, try our Relationship School Roots community. Think roots like foundation of a tree, the foundation of doing things differently. All right, but first you have to be coachable. All right, you got to empty your cup, guys, and stop pretending you know everything about relationships. You got to be like, wow, apparently I have something to learn because look at my life. And once you make that step, it's a hallelujah moment because now you're open to learning something new. So go to relationshipschool.net/roots to join. Lots and lots of people growing and developing like you that are in this conversation, all right, about partnership, how to do it well. Okay, in this episode, I did an in-person interview, which was so nice. I want to do more of these, and that's my commitment to myself, is to do more of these. I don't know what that means, how many I will do, but there's just a really rich thing that can happen when you're live with someone. So Mark Shapiro interviewed me for his podcast, and we just happened to just go, let's now record one for you, like back to back. We just did this cool experience, and I had just met Mark through our mutual friend, Matt. Thanks, Matt. And what I like about Mark here and why I wanted to interview him is for two reasons. Number one, he's survived a divorce, and I thought it would be useful for you to hear from his personal experience of divorce. Number two, social media is complicated dating and also just post-divorce, and even just for anyone. Social media is a gauntlet sometimes to scroll down the news feed and see everybody's happy faces and no one's sad truth-telling stories, but you see a lot of one-sidedness on Facebook. And Mark has been in the conversation of how to use social media to impact people's lives and to connect with others in a genuine, authentic way. And I liked his message there. It's what his TED Talk is about. And so the first half of the interview is this social media experiment he did that I think you could probably learn something from in terms of kindness and extending yourself toward other people and making an impact, and really appreciation, how to appreciate someone. And you'll notice him appreciate me in this interview, which was cool. So just take notes there of like how he appreciated me. It was really sweet. And then in the latter half of the interview, we transition into more of his divorce and how he dealt with that and how quickly he got on the dating scene and fell down at that. And so he's got some really fun frames here and a really sweet way of talking about it. So I think you're going to enjoy this. Just a little bit about Mark here. A former executive at Showtime Networks, Mark Shapiro, left the safety of his 12-year career and six-figure income to live a more fulfilling life and be a positive interruption to the status quo. Though his acclaimed authenticity-themed podcast, Are You Being Real? Innovative virtual gym to elevate your mind, performance, and results. Winning weeks in his TED Talk, The Art of Authentic Connection in Digital World, Mark lovingly challenges people to be real with themselves and others. So I'm all about Mark's message because I believe we can have more fulfilling relationships if we're being real, if we're being honest, and we're being ourselves and authentic. Okay. His podcast is called Are You Being Real? We'll include that in the show notes. And this guy is really fun to be around and has a great message here that I think you're going to like. And stay tuned to the end for your action step. All right, here's Mark. Welcome to the show, Mark Shapiro.
Thank you, Jayson. Glad to be here.
Yeah, psyched you're here, man. We just had a feisty dialogue about relationships.
You are so good. You really are the ultimate pro. So many valuable tips. I loved every second of that interview.
Awesome. For me, most important is just what a sweet connection, just to have with you. And before we did that other interview, I was really appreciating you for some of the things you've done and how you've gotten to where you are. So I'd love you to give the listener a sense of, okay, who's Mark Shapiro right now? Give us the quick 3-minute bio and what you're up to right now.
Awesome. I love how you said right now, because definitely my journey has been just a total evolution. But right now, I am a social innovator. That's really how I would describe myself, constantly changing. It's tough to just identify as one thing. Yep. But I left my 12-year career at Showtime Networks 3 years ago to launch my podcast, Are You Being Real? So I've been doing that for 3 years. I have a program called Winning Weeks, which supports people in changing their habits and patterns, aligning their habits and patterns with their dreams and what they actually want. Because I found that there was usually a disconnect between what people want and putting into practice and being the person they need to be in order to create the results that they want in their lives. Yeah. So that's the second thing. And I'm also I'm a speaker and a social experimenter. I love playing around with different ideas and challenging the status quo, because what I've learned is that most of the things in our lives are so new. For example, our smartphones, we all know that those have only been around for 10, 15 years. But even some of the other huge things, the internet or all the innovations in health or transportation, all these things, even the banking system is not that old. Yeah. So why not take a look at the current status quo and reinvent it to make it better? So that's what I'm really passionate about, and doing so in terms of social relationships. And my focus is really on digital. So we can get more into this little social experiment that I've done, but I'm just really passionate about creating a better world for everybody.
Awesome. So cool to have you here. So that's one of the things I want to get into is some of the social experiments you've done that I think the listener is going to appreciate. So this podcast is a bit about friendships and your social network and connection. This is a relationship podcast.
Yep. Love it.
We're not necessarily going to dive deep into monogamy, although that may come up.
Okay, fair enough. I've experimented with both that and open relationships.
Okay, cool. So we probably want to hear that. And I just love some of those experiments you've done. And I'm curious, why, just to zoom out a little bit, set us some context, why is the social realm so important to you?
Yeah, I think the first part is it's such a big part of our daily lives. The average person spends 4 hours a day on their phones. That's really hard to believe because we're not usually sitting there just in one lump sum, but 4 hours a day is the average. And the average person actually takes their phone out and checks their phone 100 times a day.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely wild. And there's an app called In the Moment. And I downloaded the app and I can verify those statistics because I definitely
pick up your phone.
Some days more, some days less, but on average it is about 4 hours, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So that really sparked it. So that is the status quo today. And what I think is kind of ironic is that we literally have the whole world in our hands.
Yeah.
Right. We can connect with billions of people around the world and we can find any information that we want to find out. And literally the internet is a gateway to connect with anyone or to really achieve anything we want in our entire lives. Yet at the same time, why are we more disconnected than ever?
Yeah.
Addicted to our phones, checking our phones constantly, choosing our phones over each other. I know we can all relate where we're with our lover or significant other or with our kid. And we're like, can you just put your phone down for a second? Instagram can wait.
Yeah.
And there's also studies tied to increased depression and loneliness as a result of social media. So to me, it's just so fascinating that we have this tool, the greatest communication tool of all time, and we're still figuring out how to use it. I think the example I love to give is just like a 10-year-old is just figuring out who they are and how to navigate through life. That's where we are with social media today. So I really I'm committed to being a trailblazer and leaning into what this technology is capable of to really supercharge our relationships.
Mm-hmm. So using social media to connect, but to really connect, it seems like, because everyone would say,
Absolutely,
Mark, I am connected.
Yeah.
I've got 500 friends. Like, what are you talking about? To connect more. I'm already so connected. So what do you say to a person like that?
Yeah, well, I'd say, what does it mean to be friends with someone in this digital age? Is that just like, okay, we're Facebook friends and clicking like occasionally, or just reading someone's post and not even clicking like? Maybe even you love the post and you're just like, in a hurry, and you don't click like, and that person never even knows that you read their post or that you liked it. So I think the status quo today is that people kind of look at social media as, what's in it for me, what's going to keep my attention. And if you're thinking about posting, you're probably thinking, what's going to make me look good. Like, I hate to say that, but the underlying motive is usually tied to that. At least I can definitely raise my hand. That
How many likes and shares can I get?
Right. I mean, we're both, in this kind of online marketing space that it's, not only tied to supporting people, but also, comes back to business as well.
Yeah.
Which creates a whole nother level of motives in terms of how we present ourselves. But, the status quo is we all want to look good. And, Facebook is a little bit of like a yearbook. It's a little bit of a highlight reel. Mm-hmm. And, I totally get that. That's why people do that. And, I think that the average person does, get a lot of news and information from social media, and you communicate with who you want to communicate with. And however you use it, you're probably communicating with more people and accessing more information about other people's lives than you would if you didn't have social media, or your life before social media. But with that said, and I know you're a huge advocate for taking a look within relationships and having a growth mindset, the same thing goes for social media and our relationships digitally.
Yeah. And so it sounds like most people, would you say most people are doing the status quo thing, I'm guessing, on social media?
Of course.
Just scrolling the news feed. I got a bunch of friends. I like some stuff sometimes. I maybe if I post, I'm definitely looking at if people like it or not.
Yeah.
And it seems to be social media is often just sort of checking out. Right. Mm-hmm. It's what we do as we want some dopamine. We want to see that little red icon.
Right.
Ding, ding, ding. Lights up, fires, parts of the brain. Good. Feels good for a second. Takes me away from my numbing life or my pain that I'm in. So how do we begin to use it differently? And then I want to, with some of these social experiments, for example, you told me of one amazing experiment you did. And I'd love you to tell the listeners what is possible.
Yeah, sure. So really from a macro standpoint, the way that I like to look at it to really change my behavior is, am I wasting time on my phone, wasting my time on social media, or am I investing my time and energy in social media? And that's what it's capable of. So that's usually the question that I ask myself when I find myself scrolling for a while.
Yeah. Okay.
So in regards to this social experiment, so I've made all the social media fails. I've done it all. So I told you this off air, but I was in an 11-year relationship that ended 5 years ago. We got divorced 5 years ago. And the last couple of years of the relationship were a little bit rocky. And my whole level of confidence at that point in time in my life was not where it is today. I definitely I very much cared about my image, and oftentimes I would not even post on social media because I didn't think what I had to say mattered. I was, fear of being judged.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really post at all. And it's funny, I look back at the pictures that I posted within those last couple of years of the relationship, and I don't even look happy in any of them.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I was on social media all the time though. So I would consider myself to be a voyeur at that point. I've also been an oversharer for the ice bucket challenge thing. Okay. I took that to the extreme. So what was that, like 3-4 years ago now?
Yeah.
Probably 4 years ago. So I wanted to get a real laugh out of my friends. And I have like a Borat type bathing suit.
Yeah.
And so this is so ridiculous. My parents and
we'll put
whole
this in the
family
show notes,
thought I was crazy about this. And I actually alluded to it in my TEDx talk because it was just so ridiculous. So there were some redeeming qualities or characteristics. Plus it was for, a good cause, ALS.
Yeah.
So I'm in a Borat bathing suit and I get this huge bucket, like like a really big, like hardware type of orange bucket that's probably like a good like 2 feet deep. And I filled it up with ice and water. And then and I decided, so I'm in the broad bathing suit and I first step into this bucket of this freezing cold water, looking crazy and hairy and just gross, very long hair, different version of myself. And then I took this other huge thing of ice water and poured it over my head. And it was just, gross. It was definitely oversharing. People were probably like, what the hell is wrong with this guy?
Right.
I'm scarred for life. I don't want to see this. So that's kind of the opposite side of being a voyeur, is completely oversharing. I've also played the envy comparison game, where I literally go on social media and find myself in a terrible mood because I'd compare myself to, to somebody else.
They have a better life.
Right. Or it's like, I got divorced and I'd see people celebrating their engagements or having kids, and I'd be just sad about my life as a result. Or, I'd see people who looked really successful with their businesses and maybe they started after me, and I'd find myself comparing myself to them and being envious. I think we can all relate to some extent with playing the envy game. Obviously, as I mentioned, sometimes I'm on my phone and I'm disconnected from like a beautiful moment. Like I'm Instagramming something, Instagram story, and I actually miss the actual moment that's happening,
I can relate, yes.
In front of me, or texting while driving. Like I've done all the fails.
Yeah.
So I've deleted the apps, I've reinstalled them. I've done that whole thing as well. And then finally, kind of what changed all that is my dad passed away about 1.5 years ago. He had Alzheimer's disease and had been sick for about 20 years. And it was something that was super duper real and scary for me and my family. And he had young onset Alzheimer's, so it's kind of rare. But I really shared the story on social media. I'm a big Alzheimer's advocate. And so when he did pass away, there were a lot of people that had been kind of following the story online that I got flooded with messages. And I was really touched. So I think looking at the status quo, there's still redeeming characteristics to the status quo.
Sure.
The posts that usually get the most love and comments are the big life-changing events, the wedding, the kid, the new job, or, a death in the family, the extreme things. So I just was flooded with love, and I really value relationships. To me, relationships are absolutely everything. And so I wanted to show my appreciation for other people's love and condolences for me and my family. So I started writing people back messages, and like my intention was to write every single person back who had sent me a nice note.
And then we're talking over 20, over 50, 75.
Oh, we're talking a couple hundred.
Hundreds, okay.
Yeah, a couple hundred.
Put it in perspective. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say anyone who I felt said more than, I'm so sorry for your loss, essentially. Anyone who wrote about a memory or, I've been following your dad's journey for a long time. It's really incredible. Yeah. Anyone who put more time into him, I wanted to give them, personalized appreciation.
Totally.
And so, meanwhile, my dad's died like 2 days ago. I had known that his death was inevitable because there's no treatment or cure for Alzheimer's, no way to slow it down. So I knew it was coming, but I also didn't know what it would feel like when he actually went. And so I didn't really know how I was supposed to feel, what I was supposed to do. And here I am texting people back and sending messages back. And it took me forever. Like one message would take me 5 minutes. Do I say this? Do I say that? I don't know. Yeah. So for one of the people, I just decided I'm just going to send them an audio voice message. So I pick up my phone and I press record and I just spoke from my heart. And probably went for about 30 seconds. Thank you so much for, your really nice message. It's been a really weird week for me. I don't really know how I'm supposed to feel, but messages like yours, like really allow my dad to be present and alive for me. And I appreciate you. And much love to you. So what was that? Like 20 seconds, 20, 30 seconds. And I push send and I realized, wow, that not only made me feel good, it was therapeutic for me to work through what I was going through at the time, but also took me less time than writing out a message.
Yeah.
And it allowed the person on the receiving end to hear my voice and to be there with me.
Yeah. And the voice tone is everything. It like it conveys so much more than words.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. So it was super therapeutic for me. And I rifled through all the messages and felt so great from doing it that, I don't know, maybe it was a few days or a week after that, I noticed I really wanted to continue to do something like that because it was so therapeutic. So meanwhile, there's people's birthdays every single day on Facebook. And I thought to myself, well, maybe I send some of these people an audio message. And then I thought to myself, well, it would actually be even bolder if I sent a video message. So in that moment, you know, we all have crazy ideas from time to time. I came up with this crazy idea, and that is that I'm going to send every single one of my Facebook friends, and I've got about 2,800 Facebook friends. I'm going to send every single one of them a personalized video message on their birthday.
Wow.
And I was very excited about it in the moment. And then I looked at whose birthdays were that day, and I'm like, maybe I'll start tomorrow because there's some super random people that I hadn't talked to in like a really long time or had no relationship with. And I was put to the test, my idea right there. So I decided to go for it. And it's crazy to say it's been over a year and a half later, and I've sent every single one of my Facebook friends a personalized video on their birthday.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah, it is kind of insane.
And I'm so curious, that must mean so much to people to hear from either, whether you know each other or not. It's just like, why did this guy send me a video? That's so much more impactful, right? It's going to be the thing they like the most out of just happy birthday.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I'm guessing.
Yeah. It's one of the cool things about Facebook is that you get really celebrated on your birthday.
Yeah.
And with that said, probably half the messages you get are just wall posts that say HBD or happy birthday.
Yeah.
And in reality, how many of those really pierce through and penetrate the heart?
Shit.
It's nice. It's nice. You get the dopamine hit. You get the ping. You get the the red thing. But without a personalized message, it's tough to really connect with. And you get so many messages on your wall that's maybe someone even sent you a nice one. You didn't even see it because it just got lost in the clutter of all the other messages. Yeah. So I think with close friends, you know, celebrate with them in person or, you know, give them a call. But this is the birthday message, video message thing has been really cool. And it stands out.
Yeah.
It stands out. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That would stand out. If I got a message like that, it would stand out. And then I'm so curious how people respond. Do they feel like they need to give you a video back, or are people just saying thanks? Or
well, first let me show you how I do it.
Yeah.
So I'll say, oh, it's Joe's birthday today, and I'll think about my relationship with Joe for a few seconds, not like minutes, but a few seconds, and then I'll press record, and I'll say.
And you're doing this right on your phone or in the app or something?
Right on the Facebook app with mobile. Yeah. And the nice thing about the Facebook app with video is it caps the messages, at least today, at 15 seconds a message. Yeah. So there's really no time to ramble. Yep. Which makes it a little bit easier. Yeah. So usually I'll just say, hey, Joe, I see on Facebook that's your birthday. We haven't spoken since high school. And I'm sending you a really random video message because it's kind of my thing to do. And I just wanted to say what up. Hope you're doing well. And I wish you a beautiful birthday and an awesome year ahead. Nice. And that's it. Yeah. Okay. That's it. I like to have usually, like, if I can think of something personal to say for that person, I will. Add that in, yeah. There's some people that, are the definition of an acquaintance. I don't even remember meeting them. I don't know how I know them. Some people, I don't know how to pronounce their name. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. Yeah. But I just do it for the sake of giving and making someone smile. I think at the very least, it'll make someone smile because it surprises them because they're not expecting to get a video message from you. So that's it. I'm not asking for anything in return at all. I'm not saying, hey, let's catch up. Right. I want to dive in with you and catch up and hear about your life. I'm not saying that. I'm just giving a 15-second shout out gift. Yeah. So the response has been tremendous. About 70% of people will respond. Mm-hmm. And where people are usually surprised is that they think like, oh, that's crazy that you do that. That must take hours of your day. You've got like 3,000 friends. Well, it's about 7 to 8 videos a day. Like I said, they're capped at 15 seconds. I record them quickly, and I've gotten better at it and faster at it, that it doesn't take me long.
Yeah.
And the surprising thing is people are not responding to me asking for my time.
Mm-hmm.
They're just saying thanks.
Yeah.
You know, I think
Right.
we think that like when we extend ourselves like that,
Yeah.
that other people are just going to want to take from us or
Yeah.
want something from us. I think we got to get over ourselves.
Yeah. I'm
on
glad
that.
you mentioned that.
Because everyone else is living their lives, you know,
Right.
and they're getting a bunch of other video messages as well. And so the most common response I get is, that's the only video message I got all day, or wow, that was hilarious. This is amazing. Or sometimes someone will allude to something that I've been posting on Facebook. And this is something that we talked a little bit about offline, is that there are people who listen to my podcast or see my posts and they don't click like, and they're not commenting, yet they'll tell me in their response to my birthday video message that they've listened to my podcast and it's touched their life in some sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
And without me knowing that, like for all I know, they could have thought I was dead.
Yeah.
So it's really meaningful. Like I know, like you've got a podcast, and like we think, oh, you know, Jayson's got a podcast. He releases episodes like all the time. He must be in touch with like thousands of his fans all the time. And the reality is we're people just like anybody else. And we want to know if our content is touching people. We want to know what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
We want to hear about it. And I think most people think that other people are going to be the ones who are going to communicate that. But it's like, it's the exact example of us, like, you know, if there's something action that needs to be taken in the world or in our own lives, we can't rely on others. We need to do it ourselves. So it's kind of the same example there, but it's really cool. And the point that I'm really trying to make here is that social media, there's so many people that are just voyeuring, that just because you don't get likes on your post, just because you don't get the comments or the results that maybe you're looking for, that the ripple effect of the way that you show up digitally has an effect that extends far greater than you can even imagine.
Yeah. Plus it addresses that problem we were talking about earlier of using digital stuff, and we say we're connected, but actually not. We're feeling alone.
Right.
And comparing.
Right.
This brings it into a real-time relationship.
Right.
Even in the moment. You know,
Right.
just that quick, hello, I appreciate you, happy birthday.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, go ahead.
Would you say, you mentioned like one thing that might prevent someone from, because we're basically talking about appreciation, right?
Yeah.
How to appreciate someone and the power of appreciation.
Yeah.
And one thing that might prevent someone is, well, now they're going to want to talk to me. Now they want to go to lunch and I don't have any time and I don't really know this person. I don't even like them. So what's another
don't
barrier?
Be friends with them.
Right. What's another barrier to appreciation? Like why we have such a hard time just saying thank you, or gosh, here's what I love about you. Like, why is that hard for human beings, do you think?
There's a lot of different reasons that are popping up into my head. One of them is just in the moment. We've got so much going on that we've got a million different ideas and things that we want to do in every second, that's just another thing to do. Right. We're already overwhelmed and so busy and overloaded that's just another thing to do. So we're thinking more from the lines of like, what do I want to do versus what can I give? Right. So,
how can I impact someone's life right now?
Right. And that's, as we all know, that's so incredibly rewarding to do that. Together with the fact that, it takes time, and thinking that the other person, won't really care, or not even thinking about the other person. Yeah. I think that's probably really what it is like, we're not thinking about like that there's an actual other person here. So, someone writes a really inspiring post, or someone dares greatly and they posted about it on social media, and you're like, oh, that's, you're thinking to yourself, oh, that's really cool. Yeah. It literally takes 2 seconds to let that person know. And like clicking like is so freaking transactional. Yeah. Right. Like if something really touches you, post something in the comments, or like, I really recommend give just an ounce more effort. Maybe it's a couple ounces, and shoot them a direct message or a quick voice message, which will actually probably take you less time than typing something out.
Yeah.
or if you want to be super bold, to send a video.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. You're certainly someone who likes appreciation,
Mm-hmm.
knows about appreciation.
Yeah.
Is there, and you talked about your divorce and relationship ending.
Yeah.
Was any of that, can we get into that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Was there any of that was due to lack of appreciation? Because you don't strike me as someone who wasn't probably appreciating your partner. I'm so curious about how appreciation played out in your marriage.
Yeah, it's a good question. So we were college sweethearts, and we had a beautiful relationship. We the first 8 years felt like a honeymoon. Like it really did. We were really we were everyone's favorite couples, and I definitely identified as a couple. I didn't even identify as Mark because we were so intertwined. And I think that just where I was at in my life, I didn't have a lot of the relationship school tools at the time. What I would say is I let the marriage get a little static. I wasn't doing super romantic things. I don't think I was surprising her much. And in a way, that's not being appreciative. Even though I would say I love you all the time, and I would show her I care with words or with massages and stuff, I didn't really keep it exciting, which is something that I've definitely learned. And it also scares me going into another relationship. And then I would say on the flip side, at the end of the marriage, the agreement kept changing. And she was going through a little bit of, we'll call it an existential crisis, really tuning into her intuition and realizing that her authentic truth wasn't being married to me anymore. And as a result, she did what she felt she needed to do in order to fill her needs. And as a result, the rules and agreements that we had in our relationship kind of started changing. And that's when we ultimately tried out an open relationship.
Got it.
But appreciation was there, but it's so much deeper than that, really. It really is. As a human being, I want to feel like I'm here for a reason and that I matter, and I want to be seen, and I want to be valued, and I want to be loved. And I think a lot of us do here. This is a crazy world that we live in, and importance and significance is something that makes all of us feel good, myself very much included. And I know for me personally, sometimes I've wondered what kind of value that I have in the world.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I worked in corporate America at Showtime, and it was a corporate job. I was replaceable. I was a number, but I never knew what I was capable outside of that. And thinking that what it meant to create value for somebody else had to be, a business or a trade or being a musician or an artist, not something as simple as telling someone the amazingness that they are. Like, ultimately, all relationships are a value exchange, because we wouldn't be friends with someone if they didn't provide some sort of positive value in our lives.
Yeah.
And like I said, we all want to feel appreciated. We all want to feel that significance. And the reality is all humans suffer. We all have fear. We all have insecurity. We all have doubt. And it's just such an easy gift to give, to let somebody else know, hey, Jayson, you are a gift to this universe. You are a incredibly intelligent man. You are articulate, and the work that you've done is not only so valuable for yourself and so apparent, but also is so supportive of others as well. And so I value you for that. And I know, like, for me personally, I forget who I am so many times throughout the day. I over-identify with emotions. And so any kind of reminder I can get of the man that I am is incredibly valuable for me, whether I remind myself, feel a good emotion, or if someone else is that interruption. So we can all be that interruption in each other's lives. And what it is a positive, just dose of love.
Yeah. Thank you. And thanks for appreciating me. I feel appreciated. And how do you appreciate someone if you're not feeling it, though?
If you're not feeling it.
Yeah. Because we need to be genuine, right? We can't just go through the motions, like some mantra where I'm just going to fake it. And
Yeah. Well,
Hopefully it sticks.
don't fake it. That's
Right.
That's what I would say.
Because it's not authentic, right? It's like, I'm not feeling it.
Sure.
So what do we do then? Like in a friendship scenario.
Right. Yeah. I need to think of like a more clear scenario to really come up with a good example here. Is there anything that's popping up to you?
Well, I'm just not, like a lot of couples will fall into resentment or a place where I'm not, I know my partner needs to be appreciated.
Yeah.
And I know they want that and they need it and it would be good for our relationship, but I can't bring myself to give it authentically because I'm hurt, I'm resentful, we haven't had sex in years, or something's going on and I'm just like, fuck, I can't bring myself to it. Even though I know it would be the thing that would help.
Right.
One thing that would help.
Right. What I would say is to engage in a conversation. So if it doesn't feel authentic for you to just acknowledge the other person, allow yourself to have a deeper conversation with the person and maybe, ask themselves the question, like ask the other person to acknowledge themselves, ask them what they're most excited about or what they're most proud of. And, allow the conversation to create some connection where maybe it will open up the door for acknowledgement if acknowledgement is warranted. And then the other piece of that is we can only see what we let ourselves see, which is usually tied to the story that we're telling ourselves. And usually that's limiting.
Yeah.
And just because you don't feel like you want to appreciate, your partner in the way that you think that they want to be appreciated, there's so many other things that you could probably appreciate them for that you're taking for granted or just not thinking about in the moment. So I would say to stretch yourself and to ask yourself, what are you grateful for them for?
Yeah.
Because if you're breathing in this air of this life, you're going to find a way to be grateful for something.
Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, and I could also, at the very least, just talk about my pain about our connection, right? I mean, at least be authentic about, I'm having a hard time acknowledging you because I'm stuck in my own shit.
That's great as well. Yeah.
Hey guys, quick invitation. Speaking of social media, come hang out with us in the Smart Couple Monogamy group. If you're into long-term relationship and into becoming a smart couple, there's thousands of people in this group, and I think you're going to have a good time in there, right? The engagement's high, people are respectful, and it's a good place to ask questions and learn. Go right into your Facebook search bar and just type in Smart Couple Monogamy Group, and it'll show up. Ask to join, and you'll likely get approved, and we'll see you in there. Back to Mark Shapiro. Coming back to the marriage again, because I'm imagining a listener might have a question like this. Like, is there any takeaway that you got from opening up a relationship? Because sometimes I get emailed questions like that. Well, we're thinking about opening up our relationship. What do you think? What should we do? It works for some people. It sounds like it didn't work for you guys. I'm curious, anything that the listener could benefit from something you learned about opening up your marriage?
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons in that. I was very resistant when the conversation was starting. And then I was very resistant when I was thinking rationally. And then when we were talking about the sexual stuff, I was very turned on. So it wasn't just black and white. And I did get to fulfill some fantasies as a man that I'm really grateful that I had those opportunities.
Okay.
So that was definitely a pro, which stretched my perspective.
Yeah,
for sure. Instead of clinging to my comfort zone out of fear of, what it would be like, how it would affect our marriage, everything like that. So I am really grateful for that experience. I wouldn't take it back for anything. What I found in terms of how an open relationship could work is definitely clear communication about wants and needs and agreements as to how it's going to work is absolutely essential. But one of the other lessons that I learned is most of the time people who are in open relationships will have a primary partner. So like kind of your main partner.
Someone's primary.
Right. You're spending most of your time with. So the first thing that's most important is that you make it clear to yourself that your primary partner is always going to be number one.
Mm-hmm.
And you are always going to remind yourself that they are number one.
And did you practice that? Do you guys practice that?
Did practice that.
Yeah.
And this was actually gifted to me, this knowledge, by somebody else.
Yeah.
But the second piece is that you make it clear to your primary partner that they will always come first, that they are always the priority.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I've heard this a lot in the sort of open I did an interview with a bunch of polyamorous folks, and
okay, you guys already noticed that
there was some. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a good reminder that, and I've heard Stan Tech and I think talk about that from a attachment perspective.
Right. Okay.
There is the primary relationship, and that comes first.
Yeah.
And that you give each other that message.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the third piece is to any other partners that you have, make it clear to them that you have a primary partner and that they will always be the priority.
Yeah.
So to me, that is the formula that made sense to me, and it worked until it didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, like anything, it does open Pandora's box. Like it definitely opens up a lot of different possibilities. Some of them might be realizing you have a fantasy that you never had before. Maybe it's getting to do something that you've always wanted to do. On the flip side, like it could be the end of a relationship that maybe was going to end anyways, but this is a way to fulfill some fantasies, to live a little bit, and maybe not be in a relationship that's not working for longer than you need to be.
Yeah. Are you going to do it again?
I'm not planning on it. I really want to be a dad. Mm-hmm. And I really want to, like my grandparents, have a beautiful relationship that goes the distance. That is my intention going into a long-term relationship.
Does that mean monogamy for you?
Yeah, that means monogamy for me.
Okay.
Yeah, that means monogamy for me. I want to have a committed partnership. Part of me feels like I got to have some of those fantasies in the past that I never thought I'd ever do. I got to experiment with that, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm really clear in that I want to have a family, and I want to have a committed, exclusive relationship.
Okay. Would you say, were you clear on that before?
Yes.
You're okay.
I was, yeah.
All right. And you were willing to open up the marriage.
Yes.
Knowing though that your truth was really long-term family partnership monogamy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But here's what's cool is that you said, okay, I'm willing to try this.
Yeah.
And you did.
Yeah.
And you're still coming back to some certainty inside yourself is what I'm hearing.
Right. And that's when I say that that's what I want right now. I'm very clear, and that's what I want right now. I don't want to go into a relationship where the intention is that there's going to be an open type of scenario, because that's not what I want.
Yeah.
With that said, how the heck am I supposed to know what life is going to look like in a week, a month, a year? So I want to have that intention going into a relationship, but life never happens and unfolds as exactly as we, plan it.
Sure.
Anything can happen in terms of health, unexpected stuff in the world. Who knows it?
Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah,
I feel, can I give you a reflection?
Yeah,
here?
please. Yeah.
I feel your certainty that you want to be a dad, you want a family, and just something lights up in me about kind of like a ding in terms of like truth barometer over here. Mm. And I wonder, like, I hear you in that, we don't really know next week, next year, but inside what you want. And can you allow that to be your guiding principle? Like you just know inside. It seems like you do, or you are, in a way. Would you say?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And really living in integrity with that is very, very important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I, I'm out there and, looking to find the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I do want to say one more thing in regards to what I learned from the end of that relationship, and is standing in my power. So when that relationship ended, and as I mentioned, the agreement kept changing and changing and changing, and I felt I had no leverage in that relationship, because my standpoint was, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm married this person. I love her. She's my best friend. Telling myself the fantasy story that we're supposed to be together forever.
So I'm willing to do this then.
Yep. Yeah, just thinking, okay, she's going to wake up one day and be like, let's have a kid. Not on our 11th anniversary, her telling me that she's not going to move into our dream house with me because she needs to go off on her own journey, which is what happened.
Yeah.
But what I found, there was a pattern in my relationships after that breakup where I was attracting women that ultimately would become takers from me. And I found myself getting the short end of the stick time and time again and being okay with it. And
that's the key piece, being okay with it.
And being okay with it, right? Saying that, oh, that's okay if someone is being flaky and not communicating with me and has no problem still, letting me take them out to nice dinners and showing up, when it's convenient for them, but not really being in a two-way relationship where there's a balanced amount of giving and receiving.
Yeah. Mutual, what I would call a mutual relationship.
So I definitely got that learning, and that was very powerful for me. And now it's incredibly unattractive for me to even like someone who I feel is a taker, who is not into me or doesn't believe in me. Yeah. I just have no interest in that anymore.
How did you, because that's a lot of people, how did you move on? How did you get through that or get in your power there? Because that's, I'm guessing, important to share if you got it, if you have any awareness there. Because that.
Yeah, the awareness of that, and then living in integrity with that. And my mom always called me out on that because
that's cool.
Yeah.
She saw that about you.
She did. I talk to my mom pretty much every day and tell her about my dating life and about everything else that's going on in my life. And she would say that to me. Well, what do you want? And she's like, you're not living in integrity with what you want. And that was, hearing that from my mom was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. And then it took me even, longer to continue to stand up for myself and to be able to recognize when I was getting the short end of the stick, which usually how it looked for me was just being super flexible, being super
really
duper
accommodating,
flexible. Yeah. Going with the flow versus being like, no, it's not actually what I want. I don't like being treated like this. And, in fact, I want to be with someone who's going to surprise me and be giving to me and to help me.
Yeah. So awareness.
Yeah.
And it seems like practice, would you say?
For
saying
sure.
No to the sort of pattern.
Correct. Yeah.
And then you got mom whispering in your ear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I'd say that same kind of three-pronged process is what works for anything. Is the awareness and with that awareness having some intention. And the second thing is taking a risk, whether it's standing up for yourself or doing the thing that you should do but are resisting and avoiding. And then the third piece is continuing to practice it, because like anything, muscles only get stronger with practice.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And the mentor here in this case happened to be your mom. But it could be anybody. That could be a therapist, a dad,
Shapiro.
A guide, a friend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And because some people don't want to get advice from their mom. It's like bad advice.
Well,
but for you, it sounds like
I really don't want to get advice from my mom, and sometimes she'll say it how it is, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah,
right,
that's right."
She kind of knows you and can cut through the bullshit.
Yeah,
yeah.
There's a lot of it.
Cool mom.
There's a lot of it, and I loved in your book you said we're all high maintenance.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Not me now. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then how did you? I'm coming back to the divorce again. This is for people that are getting a divorce or got a divorce. Okay. Any other pieces you want to share about your sort of healing process through that was helpful to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Before you started getting on the dating scene, or like the shame around divorce, like how did you deal with that?
Immense shame. We were everyone's favorite couple. It was the last thing I wanted to do. It was to accept it and for it to be seen by the world. And that was so tough. I would literally sit and tell anyone my story, anyone who was willing to listen. And it was just me justifying that she doesn't know what she wants, that she's going through a midlife crisis, and like she doesn't even know what she's missing, and she'll come back. And I was just like selling people on that story, which it kept me in it.
Yeah.
In turn.
And in the victim seat.
Right. So that definitely, I don't recommend that.
Yeah. Okay. But that's a phase people might go through. Yeah.
I started dating immediately,
Wow.
and that didn't work either because everyone could sniff it out from a mile away. And I'm also an open book. So I would share that on the first date, and the person would be like, oh, how long ago did this happen? I'd be like, 2 months ago. That's not exactly attractive.
Right.
I was clearly not ready. And what really changed is when I started doing some emotional intelligence work. I went to a workshop about 6 months later when I realized, oh, I was being a victim and that this is an opportunity for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was really probably the biggest thing for me, is creating a new vision for myself, and one step at a time, taking smart risks, putting myself out there, getting clear on what I ultimately would want next. And ended up being the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. It was the most painful thing I've ever experienced. It completely shattered my world because I'm the guy who wants to be a dad. I always wanted to be a dad more than I ever even wanted professional success. And here I was in this 11-year relationship, and at age 30, I'm the one who's getting a divorce. No, that's not the way that my story was supposed to go. So it was really coming to acceptance with that was challenging, also incredibly important, accepting, what is in the current moment, and then using that to catapult me. And I don't think, Jayson, under any circumstance that we'd be having this conversation had that divorce not happened.
Yeah.
So there is definitely light at the end of the tunnel if you're willing to accept, to let go, and to move on.
Yeah.
And I know I heard you in a podcast interview talking about the idea of like what a failed relationship is or a divorce is. And there are so many people that are happy after marriages. The people who aren't usually happy after a marriage ends are the ones who are still, resentful of their partner, resentful for the past. But the people who use it as a clean slate, a new opportunity to get what you want. And I think we all probably can relate to the fact that none of us want to be in an unhappy, unfulfilling, two-way loving relationship.
Yeah.
That there's actually tremendous opportunity that comes with that, but it takes time and allowing yourself to have all the feels, to get clear on what you want, and to really walk your talk and take risks and make it happen.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Did you still talk?
A little bit.
Is there, because I'm appreciating how you're talking about her. You're not like throwing daggers, like sneaking them in here.
Yeah.
It seems like you have respect for her. And what would you say about your relationship now, many years later?
What I would say is there's still sadness there. To me, I'm not, I think I'll always have some sadness there because it was a great love, and that chapter has turned. With that said, that the sadness is for what did exist and the two lovebirds that existed then. The reality is neither of us are those same people anymore.
Right.
So I'm definitely very accepting of that. And neither of us are romantically interested in each other at all. And we're social acquaintances at this point. Every now and then we'll have some very short texts. We did share a dog together. And so I'll go and see the dog a few times a year, which is always really beautiful for me because, well, I'll just share this because there might be people in this kind of situation listen to the show. So we don't have any kids, obviously. Yeah. And in the divorce, we agreed to share custody of our dog, Gertie, who's a really cute little Havanese. And every other month, we'd go back and forth for 2 years.
Wow.
And I hadn't been in a romantic relationship in those 2 years. I was addicted to the dating apps, dating the wrong people. And here I am negotiating with my ex-wife every single month about the exchange of the dog, talking about the dog. And I just felt that I needed to have a fresh start and to not have her being an active member of my life, that I needed some space in order to create space for a new relationship in my life. And it was an incredibly challenging decision. With that said, it's been 3 years. I know my dog is in really good hands with her, and I miss my dog. I think of her every single day. She's still like on my phone on like the back screen. And, with that said, it was absolutely the right move and the right decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. Because that's hard because you love your dog.
Yep.
And yet you found that was essential for your moving on process.
Yep.
And you tried it for 2 years. It was maybe working kind of, but then it was like, this is not working. I need to make the change. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing that you had to have the hard conversation, and also she was willing, I'm assuming, to take the dog.
That was a really tough conversation. I went to her place. I was handing off the dog, and I told her that this isn't working for me anymore. And I really, it'd mean the world to me. And you chose to leave the relationship. It would be really meaningful to me if you let me have Gertie. She said no. So, I had to walk my talk. And, was I really committed to creating this clean split at that point? And I was.
Dude, I'm really getting how your life kept asking you to like get in yourself, and like have boundaries and take good care of yourself.
Thank you. I'm still learning about boundaries. Still practicing.
Yeah. Yeah, but what a huge growth process, man. I appreciate all the work you've done to get to this place. And
thank you for the opportunity to share. I know that a lot of us are going through similar things or simply things, and I just find it to be so therapeutic to speak openly to each other about that. A, so we don't feel less alone, and B, so we can actually support each other, because as humans, we all want to support one another, like deep down. I mean, that's why we get so much joy out of going to a soup kitchen or, helping a friend move. And there's just infinite ways to support each other. But if we don't know how other people want to be supported, then we might not support them.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So I think it's really important to have open, honest communication so we can better understand each other. And if we understand each other, we can better support each other. And then hopefully, we're living in a world where more people are thriving together.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I love that you and I connect on a lot around just the relationships, good relationships, and a deep connection is like a well-lived life, right?
Yeah.
It's like a cornerstone of a beautiful life. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. As we wind down, I want to just ask you a little bit about your brand.
Sure.
Are you being real?
Yes.
I love that. Would
Thank you
say more about why that matters to you?
Yeah, I think that ultimately we have all the answers to our questions, and really only we know if we're being real or not real. And I think we're all very quick to want to have certainty and to say the things, yes and no, when what I've learned is usually things are not black and white.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, I said things aren't black and white, but even saying that is a black and white statement. But there's a lot of gray in this world. And to me, our truth is our northern compass.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's our intuition. It's that, that inner flame. And we know whether or not we're being real with ourselves and if we're being real with others. And if we really allow ourselves to not only just like on a surface level ask the question, yep, I'm real. Like some people I ask all the time, like they're like, I'll say I have a podcast about being real and about being authentic. Oh, I'm so authentic. I'm so real with such certainty. And I'm thinking to myself, that's awesome. But what about all the times when you're challenged or when you're not?
Yeah.
And that's usually when it counts.
Yeah.
And so I think, are you being real is an interesting question, because immediately when asking it, someone's going to kind of know why the question is being asked, as well as it can be a great vehicle for deeper exploration. So are you being real about your relationship with your lover, whether in terms of being real with yourself or being real with them?
Yeah.
Are you being real about your health? Are you actively taking care of your health? Are you eating the kind of food that, that is it within your code of excellence or your code of integrity? Are you being real about your career?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the list is endless. We can analyze any area of our life with that. And it's a simple yes or no question. And I think that's a good starting point, where if you're quickly coming to a yes, ask yourself why. And if you quickly go to a no, ask yourself why. And then there's the opportunity for a deeper dive.
Yeah. And you can do that with another person, right? It can be a
Sure.
really intimate, juicy, kind of intense, alive conversation.
Sure. Yep. Usually opens up the door for a deeper conversation. I have friends sometimes when I'm saying something and they're like, "Are you being real?" I'm like, "Huh. Okay, there is something else that I'm not saying here that I can then infuse into the conversation."
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great. In this day and age of being so digitally connected, yet feeling so alone, why, just add another layer on why that's still so important. And also for having the kind of relationships that you want, you imagine, that you want for others. Because we all are connected and we have tons of friends, but how real are we being,
Right. I think we all independently have the answer. And with growth, there's always an opportunity to peel another layer off the onion or to stretch yourself just a little bit further in terms of whether it's creating a new relationship with someone who you just have been admiring from afar or going deeper with someone you already care about. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for growth there. And the three things that I encourage people to do and to kind of lean into on social media, because hey, if you want to try out this amazing daily ritual of sending birthday videos to everyone, or at least to some people, or maybe it's not even a birthday video, every day you send a acknowledgement video to a friend, letting them know you care. It could really be anything, but I get it that it's extreme sending a video to absolutely every single one of your friends, which is what I do.
You don't have to be like Mark.
I stand by it.
Right.
And I encourage, if you want, give it a try. It'll be very rewarding and it'll surprise you, because 15 seconds, that's really all it takes to transform a relationship is what I've learned. People literally treat me differently as a result of me sending them a birthday video.
Yeah, that's a quotable, by the way. 15 seconds is all it takes to transform a relationship.
Yep.
Love that.
Yep. My pleasure. But the three things, the first is be proactive. So reach out to people that you appreciate or want to get to know with social media. We have this amazing ability to do that. So, if you want to learn more about relationships, or if you want to be a relationship coach, definitely reach out to Jayson. But, it could extend to just somebody else that you see online that you think is really interesting. Reach out to them. Why not? Have something of value so they have a reason to want to engage and connect with you, but be proactive. We have that. So many people have reached out to random people and found love or, found their dream job. The amount of examples of this are endless if you're proactive and creative with it. The second thing is, and you can also just be proactive in terms of deepening a relationship that you already have. Second would be to be giving. So being giving is not only acknowledging someone if they share something on social media that you like and using that as an opportunity to connect, but also sharing out content that touches your heart. So if something is valuable for you, let's say an episode of this podcast, then share it out with somebody else. It could be the game changer for them in their relationship. It could, really help them from not having to deal with pain. So you really could change or maybe even save someone's life. If we don't really think about that, but being really generous with sharing out other content, I think is a beautiful gift of social media. And oftentimes we find ourselves wondering, oh, what will people think if I share this out? If it was valuable for you, just trust it'll be valuable for others as well. And when in doubt, be giving, share it out.
Okay.
And then the third thing is be real. Be real. It doesn't mean that you need to be transparent and share every last detail of your life on social media, but share a little bit more than just the highlight reel. Let people see you.
I love people on Facebook willing to do that.
Yeah. Right?
It's like, wow.
I made a pretty vulnerable post in December, and it was about a reaction I had to another post that I made, where it's actually me sharing out my TEDx talk, which I was very proud of, which is all about this birthday experiment. And I was really hoping that this talk would go viral. And it didn't go viral to the extent that I wanted it to go viral. It's been seen 15,000 times, which is amazing. And I've gotten a lot of great feedback, and it's made them think about social media, how they use it, and change their behavior. But I'd like for it to be seen 1 million times so it can really create social change, which is what I'm really aiming to do.
Yeah.
So when I saw that it wasn't going to have that amount of legs, I posted about my frustration with social media and shared about how I was feeling. And funny enough, that post, and it wasn't just me bitching about it. I came from a responsible place, an open place, but it's funny, that post got more likes than the actual post that I made sharing this talk that I put my whole heart into. Awesome. So it was pretty interesting. So I think, if we're real out there, it really, really works. Because other people can relate.
They feel less alone, right? Like,
exactly,
thank you. Oh my God, I'm not the only one struggling. Like, because the happy, everybody's highlight reel, as you call it. Like, that's just, I tune that out.
Yeah.
The absolutely. Smiling faces, like, but what's really going on in your life?
Right. Yeah. And then the other thing that's ironic is we want to feel like we matter. And we want to feel like we have that significant importance. And we're here on this planet for a reason.
Yeah.
Which is essentially saying we want to be seen, that we want to be heard.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, we project these avatars of ourselves on social media. So we're actually going against the thing we want more than anything else, which is to be seen. So if you do want that, let yourself be seen.
Really good point. Wow. Super powerful. So be proactive.
Yep.
Be generous.
Yep.
Be real.
Yep.
And then if you really want to be known, allow yourself to be seen.
Yeah.
So that's all kind of captures it right there. It's so awesome. Thanks, Mark. Cool. Where can people find about you and what you're up to and your work and
Yep. AreYouBeingReal.com is the place to go. That's where the podcast lives. It's a weekly podcast. And I love to ask my guests like yourself really tough questions, really introspective questions. So the show is really about just asking the deep questions about life that were probably, they're not normal questions that are asked in everyday life, but yet they're thought-provoking and important and can really stretch our perspective. So I love having deep conversation, and like that's what it felt like. Just the two of us who we're meeting for the first time in person, just having a real deep conversation. Yeah. And I'd love to see more of those conversations being the norm, because so many people reach out to me and are like, I wish I had more deep relationships. So it's kind of embodying that. Yeah. And it's also it's about emotional intelligence, and it's like helping us raise our emotional intelligence in this world where IQ doesn't really mean anything anymore, because you can just take out your phone and Google something. And so it's really our relationship, with ourselves and others that really is the greatest pathway to success.
I'm so with you.
And happiness. So that's the podcast. And then I have a program called Winning Weeks, which is about implementation. And it goes a step further than the podcast does. So it's really supporting people in aligning their habits and patterns with what they ultimately want most. Because oftentimes when someone tells me that they have a big goal or have a big dream and they haven't accomplished it, the usual reason is because their actions, their habits, their patterns don't match up with the goal or dream that they have.
Yeah, totally. Cool. AreYouBeingReal.com.
Indeed.
Awesome. And you're also on Instagram and Facebook?
I am, yes.
Okay, Instagram is AreYouBeingReal.
At AreYouBeingReal, and then Mark Shapiro on Facebook.
Okay, awesome. So we'll include all those links in the show notes. Mark, it's been a real pleasure hanging out with you and just meeting you in person, your heart and
Jayson, you're the man. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to open up and share. I hope this has been valuable for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, man. All right, folks, Mark Shapiro. Nice, right? Go to areyoubeingrreal.com to find out more about Mark. And here's your action step. There's a simple one for social media. Send someone a audio appreciation through Messenger, or if you want to go big like Mark did, send them a video. And you can do that right in Facebook's app on your phone. It's pretty easy to do. But I noticed the voice option in Messenger is pretty cool. And if you want to send the smart couple an appreciation via voice, please do. And how this podcast has served you. And you can do that on our fan page, The Relationship School, or the Jayson Gaddis fan page on Facebook, okay? So lots of options, but the one action step is just appreciate someone, okay? Just appreciate someone. And then I'm curious for you divorced folks who are on the dating scene again, how this was for you. Was this helpful? Was there any information that you gleaned from this that could be useful, or could you relate to? You felt maybe less alone because Mark shared his story. All right. Great. Thanks, everybody. And remember, if you want to feel less alone and more connected to a group, a tribe that is doing this kind of work in the world where we're being authentic, we're relating, we're appreciating each other, we're learning how to set boundaries, own our needs, stand up for ourselves, and get the connection we want, come to the Relationship School Roots community. All right, relationshipschool.net/roots if you want to come hang with us every other Wednesday. And there's a Facebook group, and we engage there, and we learn, and we practice, and we grow. Okay? Thanks, folks. Talk soon.